Today, we've got Kayleigh Clark. She's from Sumrall, Mississippi, but you may know that name and face from season 21 of American Idol. She is back, and she's still up to some good things, so we're catching up with Kayleigh. Hey, girl.
Hello.
It's so good to have you in studio. I said, Zachariah, I haven't got in touch with Colin yet, so you're my first one to be in the studio with us, so thank you for that effort.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
You know, I told you, man, we've got so many Mississippians doing some really great things on TV here recently. It's hard to keep up with everybody. But the world went crazy, or the state went crazy, when so many made it through to the next round there in American Idol. So let's talk about your journey. So when did that American Idol journey start for you?
Well, I actually said that I never wanted to do a show like that because I never had the confidence to do it. And I was always just so scared because, you know, when you think about things like that, you're like, oh, it's just TV. Like, it's not real. And then my mom was like, well, you have an audition for American Idol next week. And I was like, no, I don't. And she was like, yeah, I signed you up. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I did it. And
was that in New Orleans?
Well, you go through Zoom first. Okay. The very first audition you do is over Zoom, and you have to go through some producers. And then once you make it past that, then they let you know if you made it to the live audition. And so I made it through that. They told me I was going to go audition, and they told me to save the date for Nashville or New Orleans. And then they sent me to New Orleans. So whenever I got there, I went through the live audition. I was on the very first day, so I was...
But you weren't on the first. See, that's all it's so interesting to me is how all of it goes into their post-production and they, edit and when they sort of put it out. So you were on the first day, but yet I think you were the second or maybe third week?
I was actually the fifth, I think.
Yeah,
I was. It's a whole process. Like, it's crazy to actually know how everything worked behind the scenes. But yeah, I was on the very first day of auditions in New Orleans. And I think I was like the fourth person to go. So I was glad to go ahead and get that over with. And it didn't really hit me that I got a golden ticket until I was on my way to Hollywood. And so I was super excited about that. And I was shocked, honestly, because I'd never expected to make it that far.
But you're not a stranger to the stage, right? I mean, you kind of had the background of doing pageants and sort of singing, right?
Yes.
So you've always had a love of singing. Where did that come from?
I started singing when I was 3 years old in church. That's what, every country singer you think of, they all start in church. And then I started competing in pageants, and I competed in pageants that had talent. And then that's when I realized, I want to do this for the rest of my life. Like, my mom said that I would wake up every morning when I was little and just be tapping my fingers or humming, singing, whistling, anything with music. And she told me one time, like, Kaylee, you've got to be quiet for just a minute. And I said, Mom, I have a song in my heart. And she said she never told me to be quiet again.
Well, she's a good mother. So for doing that, she's also a good mother for, I guess, recognizing your talents and maybe, helping you get out of your comfort zone by signing you up for American Idol. Because sometimes we need those nudges from those around us that love us. I mean, you could have turned it down if you absolutely wanted to. But how good is it now? I think back in the day, when you're 18, so you weren't even around when American Idol first sort of started. And they used to have to go out there and staying in line to sort of pitch for it. But how did you think through the process for the Zoom, I guess, audition? Did you pick out a song? Is it a whole song? Is it a short clip? Because I feel like they probably see a lot of Zoom auditions. What's that process like? Yeah.
So pretty much, it's not really like you would think it'd be strict, like you'd have to stand in front of like a white wall, and they weren't really like that. There were people that auditioned from their cars, and so I did it from my room, and I can't even, honestly, I've sang so many songs, I can't even remember what I sang, but it was just like a verse and a chorus. And then if that producer liked you, then you went to another producer and sang the same song. And then you went through another group of producers where it was the three main producers. And then they would tell you over email like a week or two later if you made it or not. And they told me right then that I made it to Hollywood. And of course I cried. And because at first I was a little mad at my mom for signing me up because I was so nervous and I never had the confidence to do it, like I said. But then I got to thinking about it, and now I'm so grateful that she did that because I would have never done it on my own.
Well, it takes a lot of courage and confidence, too. Well, one, to get on stage and do what you do in terms of pageants. You're not going to see this girl doing that. So, number one, you already got more courage than I do. But then also walking out in front of well-known people. It's Luke Bryant,
yes.
what's her name?
Katy Perry.
Katy Perry, and then what's the
Lionel Richie.
Lionel Richie.
Yep.
So when you got that opportunity there in New Orleans, only being the fourth one in line, that to me would have been a blessing. Like, thank you, Jesus, let me go first. I want to get this over with.
I was so happy to be like in the first group.
Is it just you'll walk out and then, like, I mean, is that it?
Pretty much. They hold you in the back, and
I wouldn't make it.
Yeah. They hold you in the back, and they're doing a little bit of filming, and then they're like, okay, go ahead and go in. And I always had the biggest crush on Luke Bryan. When I was younger, I told everybody that I was
younger. You're 18.
Well, when I was in like 4th and 5th grade, I would tell everybody that I was going to marry Luke Bryan. I was in love with him, and then I'm the type of person, when I meet a celebrity, I get so starstruck and I cry. So I was like, don't you go in here and make a fool of yourself. And then I walked in, and they were super, super sweet. And me and Luke kind of hit it off, talking about hunting and fishing and the farm life. So he was definitely one that made me really comfortable.
Which you ended up having to sing 2 songs for your audition, correct?
Correct. Well, I actually had to sing 3. They wanted to hear me do like a sassy song, so I did. I sang a Miranda Lambert song. What was? Oh, Mama's Broken Heart. That's what I did, and they played the piano behind it, but they didn't air that one. So, but I think they wanted to air the I Surrendered, the second song that I sang, because Katie kind of helped me with it. So they used the first 2 that I did instead of the third one.
Well, you got your golden ticket, and from what I hear, y'all get one to keep, which I think is super important and cool. Because I was like, man, it'd be so wrong if they just gave you a prop to take a picture with, and then you couldn't take it home. Okay, so walk us through your Hollywood week, because it was a little bit different than everyone else. That's where things, or your American Idol story, just took a turn that maybe you didn't see coming.
Oh, absolutely. We had a meeting before we went to Hollywood, and they said that if you get COVID, you unfortunately have to go home. Like, there's nothing that they could do. So I felt fine. And then whenever I got to Hollywood, I was in a meeting, and they called me, because they test everybody for COVID as soon as you get there. And they called me, and they were like, hey, is this Kaylee? And I said, yeah, this is me. And they were like, okay, get to your room right now. You have COVID. And I lost it, because I was like, this is it. I'm going home. And whenever I got to my room, I immediately got on Zoom with some of the people that were like over all that kind of stuff. But the main producers were in the air. They were in an airplane on the way, so they had no clue. And so when I was talking to those producers, they were like, we don't know what's going to happen. We're going to try our best to accommodate you, but we can't make any promises, so you're going to have to wait till the main producers get here. So I had to wait until the next day. And they were like, okay, we want you here. We're gonna work with you, but you're gonna have to do the rounds over Zoom from your room until you test negative. And I was like, I'll do it. That's perfectly fine.
So you were by yourself? You went into quarantine. Your mom wasn't there. You didn't have anybody with you?
My mom was there.
Okay.
Because
she get to quarantine with you?
Yes, ma'am. She had to quarantine with me because, I mean, she was, obviously we lived together, right. So she was already with me anyway. So yeah, she had to quarantine with me, and It wasn't the best, to have to do that from your room, but also at the same time, like, I was just...
Were you the only one?
There was one other person that had it. They unfortunately didn't make it past the first round, but I made it past the first and second round, and they gave me a shot to get on stage and actually sing for Showstopper round. Unfortunately, they didn't air that, but I was super glad that I finally got to get on the stage and sing in front of everybody.
So what's the Hollywood week? Does everybody fly out there? Like, it'd be you, Colin, Zachariah, and then obviously everybody else, but that's our Mississippi crew. So everybody is at least in Hollywood together for Hollywood week.
Yes, everybody's there together, but they separated the minors from the adults. Just because in California, whenever you're working and you're like on set, if you're a minor, you have to go to school for 6 hours a week or 6 hours a day. So that's why they kind of separated us, because the minors were in school all the time, and then the adults had to, film. So we didn't really I didn't even get to see a lot of my friends that I met at the audition, because some of them didn't make it past the first or second round, and, obviously I was in quarantine.
What subjects did you learn during Hollywood week?
We didn't even do anything, if I'm being completely honest. We just sat in the room and talked.
Is it
and
like
sang
and music class? And
we just sat and talked. We really didn't even do anything.
Like that's just. But I mean, I guess rules are rules, and
right.
you sort of fit in and all that way. All right, stick with us. We're catching up with Kayleigh Clark. She's from Sumrall, Mississippi, on her season 21. TV.com. You'll see Kayleigh Clark of Sumrall, Mississippi. She was recently on season 21 of American Idol, where we're still rooting for Colin and Zachariah. And we were talking about the fact Hollywood Week was crazy for you, right? So, but you made it through that. And then what was the next step for you in sort of your American Idol journey?
After I finally tested negative for COVID and got out, I could do the showstopper round on stage in front of everybody. And then later on, you found out if you made top 26. Now it was top 24, but now it's top 26. And then whenever I went to find out, I unfortunately did not make the top 26, but that's okay because it's all in God's plan and it worked out.
Absolutely.
Perfectly.
And it's interesting to me, we all found that out last week, but you found that out back like in December.
Right.
So you've had time to sort of process it and see it. It didn't necessarily happen, live and sort of in that moment.
Right.
And which I'm sure it was a big disappointment. It would be fair to say, that it would be.
Right. I was a little... I don't want to say I was embarrassed, but I kind of was to, have to post like I didn't make it because I felt like I wasted people's time and I felt like I'd let so many people down. But then I got to thinking like top 55 out of 450,000 people that auditioned like over Zoom and everything, like that's pretty awesome. So it made me feel a little bit better.
And I would assume, how long was this process take, Kaylee? Like a year and a half, like from when you auditioned first to December?
I auditioned in September. My very first of 2022.
Okay.
So it was just a few months. My first Zoom audition was the beginning of September, and then I went to New Orleans in October.
And I would say even in that short period of time, you've grown probably so much as a young woman, as a singer, as what you want for your future.
For sure.
It's a crash course, and the business is tough.
It is. It definitely is, and I've learned that. I've learned that it's tough, but I mean, it's something I've always wanted, so I'm definitely grateful for it.
Well, and I think for those that, maybe get knocked off their horse and get back on, you recognize, hey, it's worth fighting for. It's something I want,
Absolutely.
Whatever direction, versus it's just always smooth sailing. You never really know, how did I end up here? Now, like, okay, I got my start. Let's keep going. So how are you keeping going, Kaylee? Like, what's been going on for you behind the scenes since December? Because now I'm doing math. Math is hard. So we're now 5 months out from that, but I know you're still singing and getting out there. So what's going on?
I am. I'm actually singing this weekend in Texas. I'm going to sing at a rodeo and some fashion shows for a friend of mine. And then next weekend, I'll be singing at Woolwine in Seminary, Mississippi for their grand opening. And then I'm going to be singing at Raleigh Fest May 6th, opening up for the great Todd Tillman. And then Atwood Fest is May 26th. I'm super excited for that. That's going to be my first full band show in front of everybody. So I'm really excited about that. And I also have my first single coming out very, very, very soon.
That's cool. Who produced it, or how did you do that part?
Well, a friend of mine that I met at my first audition in New Orleans. His name is Preston Duffy. I'll go follow him. Check him out. He's awesome. He's my very best friend. We connected as soon as we met. And I told him that I've always wanted to write a song, but I didn't know how to get started. So him and I sat down, and I told him what I kind of wanted to write it about. And he helped me out. And so it's about the Neshoba County Fair, if any of y'all know what
Nobody is familiar with that here. I'm totally kidding. Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. Neshoba County Fair.
It's a big deal.
Oh, yeah. I went the past 2 years. My first time going was 2 years ago, and I fell in love with it. Yeah. And I will never miss a year. So I wanted to write a song about the Neshoba County Fair. So I'm ready for everybody to hear that. I'm super excited.
Are you going to get a chance to sing at the Neshoba County Fair this year?
I hope so. That's a dream of mine. I've always said that singing on the grandstands is the biggest dream of mine.
I don't. You know what? You just put it out there. You never know what could possibly happen. I think you would be great on the grandstands there.
Thank you. I hope so.
I'm going to say, Kaylee, you write a song about it. They're probably going to end up getting you there at some point.
I hope so.
Somehow. So when does that come out?
We don't have an exact date yet, but I'm hoping within the next few weeks, maybe a week or two. I'm trying not to give too much away about it. So. What's
the best way to sort of keep in touch with you for knowing when your new music drops or your events and things of that nature?
My Instagram, my TikTok, and my Facebook. My Instagram and TikTok is just Kayleigh G. Clark, and then my Facebook is just Kayleigh Clark.
You talked about meeting your friend there. What was his name?
Preston Duffy.
Duffy. I love Duffy. Is that his real name?
It is.
Duffy. It just feels like a built-in nickname.
Yeah.
From you, and you mentioned Todd Tillman. He's a good friend of Good Things. From all the others that have gone through these similar experiences, they all talk about walking away with friendships they never knew that they would, ever make. And it feels like you would say the same thing.
Oh, absolutely. We met, like I said, in New Orleans. And whenever we left New Orleans on a Wednesday, and then we went home, and that following Thursday afternoon, we were on the road because he's from South Carolina. So we were on the road going to South Carolina so I could sing with him a little bit. And then we have been best friends ever since. We talk every single day. He is my very best friend.
So this all started because your mom decided to sign you up for American Idol behind your back, which I think is cool. And you obviously probably could have said no, and she wouldn't have forced you to do it. But you took the leap of faith to do it. What would you say to others who don't have the courage yet? Because when you think about it, how many did you say auditioned? 450,000, right? Like, we see the names and lights at the end of those who won, but there's so many more who have a story like yours.
Absolutely.
Or never even make it past Zoom. But there's something in having the courage to try.
Yeah.
So what would you say to those that are lacking still the courage but have the want to try?
Go for it. Do not hold back, because I'm so glad that I didn't. I was so nervous to do it, and then because I didn't think I was going to go anywhere. I thought that I was just going to audition and that'd be the end of it. But you never know what's going to come out of anything you do. So if it's something that you're really passionate about and something that you really want to do, go for it, because it would never hurt to try.
Never hurts to try. But you're still 18, and I'm like, oh, she's got the whole world ahead of her, her whole big life ahead of her. So I know you graduate coming up in May. So what is next for you? Are you going to take a gap year, or is college even on your agenda, or are we going full throttle into career mode? None of the above is the wrong answer. I'm just asking.
Yeah. For now, I kind of want to just focus on music because, like I said, this is something I've wanted my whole life, and I don't want anything to get in the way of that for right now. But if it doesn't work out, then I'm definitely gonna go to school. But for now, I kind of just want to focus on music.
I think you should do that. You should take that. You mentioned the songwriting. Is this your first song, your new single that will drop whenever we stay connected with you and find out it drops?
Yes.
Or have you been tucked away little songs all your life, or have you always been connected to the songwriting piece of it?
No, this is my first song because I'm not creative when it comes to that kind of thing, and I don't know how to write a song. So this is my first song that we wrote together, and I'm super excited for people to hear it. I'm really proud of it.
Did you like the process of it, or do you find that daunting?
I loved it. We actually wrote it back in October, and then we just recorded it the end of March. So we've had it tucked away for a little bit, and then I was like, I really want to put this song out.
So you teased us with the fact that it surrounds the Neshoba County Fair. Now you're going to have to give it, you don't have to sing it, obviously, or give us necessary verse, but you're going to, what shows up in it in terms of the Neshoba County Fair? Well,
they call it Mississippi's Giant House Party. So that's the first line, actually. They call it Mississippi's Giant House Party. And then I talk about the Midway, which is where the fair is, and the grandstands, the fireworks show. Everything that's in the song, like it's about the Neshoba County Fair. There's no way to miss it.
Well, I think it's really cool. Well, being from Mississippi, we are the birthplace of American music, but then we also have some of the best writers that come out of it as well, using our backdrops as their sort of inspiration for their songs. So I feel like if you keep doing that, Kaylee, then the sky is going to be the limit for you. And I hope you explore that side of it, right?
Yeah.
In terms of being able to express yourself in writing the music as well as sort of singing it. Are you done with pageants?
I am. I hung up the pageant shoes a few years ago, but that was definitely a big part of my life. Like, it helped me become who I am today, because if it wasn't for pageants, then, from being on stage all the time, I don't think I would be as confident to get on stage and sing. So I definitely owe that to pageants.
There you go. So it's the courage, just the courage to do it. We still have two, though, Zachariah and Colin, which you say all three of you guys sort of knew, stuck out together at least when you could. And I think it's voting right now for them.
Yes,
correct?
Definitely go vote. They are great guys. Colin and I actually met. He was the first person I met in New Orleans when we auditioned together. And me and him became really close, too.
So it's neat. We've got still so many Mississippians sort of out there doing great things. Kaylee, I feel like your story is just starting. I think you just keep going, keep putting one foot in front of the other, keep taking, June or July off for for the fair?
Yes. Oh, I definitely am going to have to. I always have that blocked on my calendar. And I get the, like the week-long bands that you can have. I collect them. I've collected them since I started going.
Well, I feel like you will make it to that stage sooner or later. And we look forward to supporting you and whatever you do, girl. All right, where are all your social handles? Where do we go?
Facebook is just Kayleigh Clark. My Instagram is Kayleigh G. Clark. And my TikTok is also Kayleigh G. Clark.
Well, I appreciate you coming into the studio.
Thank you so much for having me.
And you guys stick with us. We got a few more good things.